An abandoned government office, a young man who doesn't believe in ghosts, and a secret that was never meant to be uncovered. What happens when a skeptic enters a place where the past refuses to stay buried? Brace yourself for a tale of terror that will keep you on the edge of your seat. The Secret of the Haunted Government Office. In the heart of a small town in America stood an old government office, a building that had once been bustling with activity. It was a large, imposing structure with tall, narrow windows and heavy wooden doors that creaked loudly whenever they were opened. For years, the building had been abandoned, left to decay and crumble. People in the town whispered about it, claiming it was haunted, but no one dared to go inside. One day, a young man named Jake arrived in town. He was new, having just been hired as an assistant to the town's mayor. Part of his job was to clean up and organize the town's old records, most of which were stored in the abandoned government office. The mayor warned him about the rumors, but Jake laughed it off. He didn't believe in ghosts or spirits. To him, it was just an old, empty building. On a rainy afternoon, Jake made his way to the office. The sky was dark and thunder rumbled in the distance. As he approached the building, he noticed how the air around it felt different, heavier, colder. He hesitated for a moment, then shook his head, dismissing the uneasy feeling. "Just an old building," he muttered to himself and pushed open the door. The interior was worse than he expected. The floorboards creaked under his feet, and cobwebs hung from the corners of the high ceiling. Dust covered every surface, and the air smelled of damp and decay. Jake pulled out a flashlight and began his work. He moved from room to room, gathering old files and documents, stuffing them into a box. As he worked, he started to feel strange, like someone was watching him. Every time he turned around, though, there was no one there. The building was silent, except for the occasional creak of the wooden floors. But then he heard it, a faint whisper, barely audible, coming from somewhere deeper in the building. Jake froze, his heart pounding. "Hello?" he called out, his voice echoing through the empty halls. There was no answer, only silence. Jake shook his head again, trying to convince himself it was just his imagination. But as he continued working, the whispering grew louder, more insistent. It seemed to be coming from one of the rooms at the end of a long hallway. Jake, against his better judgment, decided to investigate. He slowly made his way down the hallway, the whispers growing louder with each step. As he reached the door, he noticed it was slightly ajar, and a cold draft was seeping through the crack. He pushed the door open and shined his flashlight into the room. It was empty, just like the others, but there was something off about it. The walls were covered in old, faded newspapers, and in the center of the room there was a large wooden desk. Jake approached the desk and saw a single piece of paper lying on top of it. It was an old memo, dated back to the 1950s. The paper was yellowed with age and the ink was faded, but Jake could still make out the words. "Do not speak of what happened here. The truth must remain hidden. We must protect ourselves from what we've done. This office is sealed, and no one must enter again." A chill ran down Jake's spine as he read the words. Suddenly the room grew colder and the whispering voices returned, louder and more menacing. They seemed to be all around him now, echoing off the walls. Jake backed away from the desk, his heart racing. The whispers grew into a cacophony of voices, all overlapping, all angry. "Get out! Leave now!" the voices screamed. Jake turned and ran, his flashlight bobbing wildly as he sprinted down the hallway. The voices followed him, growing louder and more frantic. He could feel a presence behind him, something dark and malevolent. It was chasing him, trying to drag him back. As he reached the front door, it slammed shut in front of him. Jake yanked on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. He was trapped. The whispers were now a deafening roar, and the air around him was freezing. Desperate, Jake slammed his shoulder into the door with all his might. The wood splintered, and the door flew open. Jake stumbled outside, falling to his knees on the wet pavement. The rain poured down on him, But he didn't care. He was out. He was safe. As he looked back at the building, the front door slowly creaked shut on its own, sealing the darkness inside. Jake didn't go back to the office the next day. He didn't even return to the town. He packed his things and left, never looking back. The old government office remained abandoned, its dark secret hidden away, waiting for the next unfortunate soul to uncover it. But the townspeople knew better. They stayed away, their whispers continuing to spread, warning anyone who would listen. Never go inside. The office is cursed. Those who enter never leave the same. And so, the old government office stood, silent and empty, its secrets locked away forever, haunting the town with its dark presence. Dare to venture deeper into the unknown. Smash that like button if this story gave you goosebumps, and don't forget to subscribe for more terrifying tales. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you do if you were in Jake's shoes?